All right, I think we are officially live here on this Friday afternoon. So I want to welcome everyone to the TAS Power Hour this Friday. And it's the Friday after Prime Day, so we'll be probably touching on that. I could probably guess that, Chris, right? We're going to probably talk a little bit about that. And then, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about some pay-per-click stuff that we've been experimenting with and trying to figure out, actually. Which we did that actually live, I think, last week or the week before, so we can give some updates on that. Our listing that had been a little out of whack, we can kind of touch on that. Also, some exciting news, we are officially open for the 1K Fast Track. So that is officially open now, so we'll talk a little bit more about that and what that is. If you guys are brand new and you don't know what that is, we'll talk about that. And I think I'll just give some random thoughts, and maybe we can dive into exactly what success is and lifestyle, which we had an interesting conversation yesterday. It was about lifestyle, and the interpretation of it sometimes can be different. Right, Chris? I mean, you were thinking one thing, and I was thinking the other, so we can maybe address that.
We were thinking the same thing, but it was that word in particular that gave me a different thought, just because I haven't used. But no, that was a very interesting conversation.
Yes, it absolutely was. All right, so what I want to do, though, is get you guys to engage here a little bit. So definitely chime in the comments. Let us know that you're here. If you have any questions, let us know how your week is going, or your Prime Day, or your launch, or whatever. Just put it in the comments. Also, like and share this, and spread a little bit of TAS love, and that would be amazing. So definitely do that. So Dom, what's going on other than, it seems like you're really enjoying that gum that you're chewing today?
Yeah, it's good. It's a new flavor I just got.
Oh, and by the way, little inside joke, which we can let people in on at some point, is I seen some Reebok Monarchs today, by the way.
Nice. Like the picture you sent me the other day, that was classic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, how's your week going there? I haven't heard too much from you, so you must have been super busy.
I'm just keeping to myself over here, getting lots of things done, organizing my warehouse, and took a day off yesterday, unplugged, had some family over. Yeah,
oh, nice.
At my cottage, and that was basically it. But of course, it rained all day, so we couldn't go swimming or go in the hot tub or nothing, but whatever. Tried again this weekend. So
raining, why can't you go swimming?
Well, I guess we could, but with the a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, I know
it's not as fun.
Yeah, it's not as time you drive we have walk over with the little kids and stuff. I didn't want them to get them all soaked, I guess, but that was pretty well it. No, I'm just organizing, like I said, the warehouse, dealing with Amazon stuff that's getting shipped in. And, the week after Prime Day, getting ready to get going now for fourth quarter, I guess, basically.
That's pretty much the next thing, right? I mean, that's the next big thing anyway. Cool. Oh, you know what else, too? I just wanted to give a little shout out here. Jimmy the Shark might be taking off the goatee today, by the way.
Nice.
I got video verification of that.
He said he was going to do it like an unboxing and maybe even video the actual shaving of the growth of that.
Oh, man.
What he should do is, I don't know if he's watching, but I can send him a link to be on the panel, and we can do it during Power Hour if he's.
Oh, that would be amazing. All right, cool. Let's get to business. Let's. I know there's going to be some people tuning in that want to kind of talk a little bit about Prime Day, and let's kind of dig in there, Chris. What do you want to go into there, and kind of maybe do a quick little recap?
Absolutely. So many of you guys were on with us this week. Scott and I kind of did a live recap of what Prime Day looked like in our new brand. So two things. First, let us know that you can hear us in the comments. I know that sometimes when we kick off that our audio is in and out. We're more than happy to stand here and continue to talk to ourselves, but we'd love for you guys to hang out with us as well. The other thing that I'm going to ask for you to leave in the comments is just how was Prime Day? Was it flat? Was it up? Was it down? I know in our new brand that you guys have been hearing us talk about, Prime Day was up, and we were between 4 and 5x.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? We did 270 units on the new brand, and we were averaging, I think, about 37 a day.
Something like that, yeah.
And the thing that was kind of interesting that kicked me for a loop was we didn't see any snapback. We didn't see any like drop off the next day. We hit our average almost on the nose the day after Prime Day, which was Wednesday. Yesterday was fine, and today is on pace. So there was no like rebound period at all, which was kind of interesting. Typically, you see slower sales for a day or two after days like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I'm wondering if it's just because Amazon is Amazon and they're like, it's Amazon deals versus like something that you're saving up money for. Does that make sense? Like Cyber Monday, Black Friday, people are buying stuff with a purpose.
Right.
Like, I'm going to give this as a gift. And it looked, and it kind of feels to me like Prime Day is people buying stuff for themselves. So maybe they're buying it a little bit faster, but you're still going to have, like, if you have something that people need, you're still going to have people who need that at the same level versus like Christmas, where a lot of people are buying it for gifts. So you start to see kind of that dip for a day or two after that. Dan Foster says 25% increase, best day in 3 months.
Nice.
Daniel Tejada, who I know had a hot day based on our conversation earlier this week, said Prime Week was great for lightning deals. Sales and ranks have sustained with heavier than usual PPC. Michelle Handy says up a little bit, but I held back in PPC so I wouldn't run out of inventory. And the Armstrongs, who I know we heard from earlier in the week, are reporting that it was about a 4X, and that was without their main product.
That's crazy, yeah.
Their top seller, because they blew the doors off of that a few days before Prime Day. So that's kind of interesting. Dom, I know you said you had kind of a mediocre day. It was a little better than average. Can you run through that really quick?
Yeah, I think we were up about 25 to 30%. Nothing overwhelming that we, like I just said before we went live, that I, open my account or swipe the Amazon app and go, oh my God, what the heck, it's 2 o'clock and we're like triple, quadruple what we usually do. So yeah, again, I mean, you see my opinion on it. I'm not as hyped as most people are. Prime Day is just another day for us. I just find it's good. You make some money. It's like Boxing Day in Canada. Next day, you move on, and that's it. So I'm happy with the 30%. I don't bank on it. So again, we have good numbers pretty well in all our brands. So to do an extra 30, I'm happy with. Again, it's everyone wants to go 100% would have been nice, or 200%, but for our products, I guess it just wasn't. No, we didn't manipulate a lot of it. We didn't change a lot of prices. In the past years, to be competitive, we've lowered our prices or did stuff like that. I think we only lowered like 2 or 3 ASINs this year, and that was basically just new stuff. And then of course we were out of a few products. In the open brand, we were out of 2. We weren't out. Well, we were out. It was just getting into the warehouse because of complications. So they're not available till like July 20th. So great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, right.
So whatever. Again, you've heard me say it. You sell out, you lower your prices, you just have to replace it anyways. But again, if you're looking for BSR or thresholds, or you want to meet some goals, it's great stuff. But I just look at it a little bit different than most people, I guess, as a business.
Well, that I think is something that's important to kind of keep in mind, and you don't want to ever bank on one of those. And I know we kind of harped on this a little bit last week, but like if you're looking at any one of 3 days in the year, whether it's like Prime Day, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Boxing Day, any of those kinds of things as like your make or break point for your business, there's something wrong with that. Like the Black Friday thing comes from, if you haven't made profit at that point, you're not going to make profit for the year, right? But if your business is dependent on that, there's another issue. If you are doing something like selling on Amazon and you have to wait until December to see your first profitable month, unless you launched in November, right? There's some other things that we have going on there. If you've been running for a full year and you haven't seen any profit, there's another issue going on there. And if your business is make or break based on one of those days, you have other issues. It's like being dependent on a single channel. And I know, Scott, you and I kind of harp on this a lot, and Dom, you're kind of on the same boat there. Like, you wouldn't ever want to be 100% dependent on eBay or 100% dependent on Amazon. You have your eggs kind of spread out. And the reason for that is if you have a single point of failure, whether it's one day or one channel, that can easily break your business if something goes wrong. If your product doesn't get into the warehouse in time for Black Friday, and that's the day you were banking on, then you're out of luck, right? And we got lucky with the product that we had that crazy day on 2 weeks ago. There's now 3 offers on the same product on Amazon, and all 3 of them miraculously came in stock on Monday afternoon, right? So we had
You lucked out, yeah.
we had
Lucked out
enough
big time.
inventory to actually meet demand.
Yeah.
Or we would not have done 270 units on Cyber Monday.
Of course.
Prime Day.
Yeah.
Scott
Well, that's
and I
good.
We're expecting to do significantly less than that. Scott, what was the initial number that we threw out? Do you remember?
For Prime Day of what we
Yeah.
thought, I think we were talking like maybe 100
I think we
and
said 80 to 100.
yeah, 80 to 100 would have been like we would have felt like it. You know, we did okay.
And that would have been a 2x day, right? That would have
Yep.
been a 100% lift,
Mhm.
which is a really good day for us. And we ended up blowing that out of the water because
Yeah.
we were in stock on that stuff. So that's great.
Well, the other thing that I think that should be worth noting is it also showed me, because we didn't even turn on pay-per-click until later in the day. So it also showed me that we're ranking organically, because you know, in order to get those sales, you got to be seen somewhere, right? So and we weren't running a lightning deal, any special promotion. We just lowered our price a little bit, and I say a little bit, like if we were selling it for $22 or $23, we might have lowered it to $19.95. Like it wasn't that like big or drastic of a drop. So it proved to me that we are ranking organically, which is pretty exciting, because again, once we start getting more traffic after we get out of the summer, because, oh yeah, again, guys, let you know, like summer, like we're in July, generally numbers are down in July. Right. Generally, depending if what you're selling. If you're selling, you know, pool supplies, maybe you're gonna be up. But for the most part, e-commerce across the board, any platform, web traffic is going to be down because people are out by the pool or they're vacationing or whatever. So just a little side note there.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to see what happens there, right? Because we actually turned, like you said, we turned PPC on late, and you guys may or may not know that we've been struggling with PPC on one of our products. We talked through it last week on live, and we decided to change the subcategory, and we actually did it while we were on here.
Yeah, we did.
And we actually moved the product to a less correct subcategory. It still describes the product, but you guys often ask the question, like, if it fits in more than one category, like, where do I put it? And we always say, put it in the most correct one, put it in the one that describes it the best. And in this case, that actually didn't work out. I would still suggest starting there. We just weren't showing up for PPC for that product. And the second that we moved it, we started showing up for at least the generic way to describe the product. You know, we showed up for SLR camera, I think is the example that we used, right? But we didn't show up for Nikon, which is, we want to show up for Nikon because it's an accessory to a Nikon camera, but I'm at least going to take the win of showing up for something for now and see if we move it back in a few weeks, if we keep that and add the other thing. So I'm wondering, Scott, and it's something I was thinking about yesterday, I'm wondering if we give it a couple weeks and then move it back to that other subcategory. It'd
be worth a test, yeah.
If that kills our impressions, and we'll know it within a day, if that kills our impressions or if that lets us actually show up for all of the terms that correctly describe the product. That would be interesting. And I don't know, Dom, have you done that? Have you moved it back?
A couple times. I try to think which, I know in the Oprah brand, I think I did it once. And when I first started my accounts years ago, we did it a couple times. But traditionally, once I move it back over, what I will do instead of moving it back over, it's a tactic that I'll do. We've talked about it before. Is I'll try to release a similar product on the other category. So I can basically compete against myself, but then I've got more spots taken up. So that's how we'll do it. If we feel like, if we're like, okay, we don't want to change it, we don't take a risk, but we really need to see our PPC, visually, on that category. Then we'll release something on that category as well. So now we got both covered. So we've got home and kitchen, and we got sports and outdoors, or we've got automotive and sports and outdoors, whatever the category. So now we have both categories covered. That's how I kind of do it. I'm always reluctant to keep going back and forth. We'll do it once, twice at the most, and that's it. I won't touch it anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think by trying to kind of cross, I guess, the categories, is also something that could help. But again, then the one product has to definitely lend itself to the other product and vice versa. But for us, it's just been a little bit of a headache. It still is a little bit of a headache though, Chris, because I mean, the sales on that product are not where I thought that they would be. I think it's going to take more work, and I'm not even sure if it's worth us putting all of our energy into that to get it to go. I think it's going to be a product you're always going to kind of carry because you want it as part of your product line, but it might not be the one that we're going to really, push, because the margins are okay, but they're not like our other ones. So again, you kind of like look at what you've launched, and then you look at the ones that are starting to get traction, and then I think you're going to start putting more muscle behind those. That's just my thought process at this point.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And this is something that you'll run into in a branded concept. It's not something that we've necessarily run into in like the open brand, right? But Scott, if you go to that product page and you look at the frequently bought together, it's our top selling product, that product, and then an accessory that we should probably launch. Mm-hmm. And it's something I know that we're kind of looking at. Those three are frequently bought together, right? Mm-hmm. So having that product is helping us to increase that cart value. Mm-hmm. While, it may not take off on its own, I do agree that we probably should have it.
Yep.
As long as it makes sense to carry it, right? Like as long as we're not losing money on it.
Exactly.
Just for that case, because we're maximizing profit with it. It's a profit maximizer, even if it's not a product that's going to sell well on its own, although it should. And that's the thing that's kind of infuriating about this. We kind of know why we struggled with it, but it should sell well on its own. So it's just a matter of deciding whether or not it's worth our time and effort. And this is actually probably a good conversation to have, because we get the question all the time, like, when do I give up and when do I decide to go all in? And on this product, I would generally suggest that people go all in. But because we have 5 other SKUs, soon to be 8 other SKUs, do we do that with this product, or do we focus the time and effort on the ones that are really selling and just see if this one starts to gain traction over time?
Yep.
If it was our only product, then it would be really easy to say, no, the volume is there. We just need to figure out that one tweak to go get it. But in this case, do you still feel that way?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I look at the volume on this product, right? There's a ton of volume. There's a ton of there's a ton of depth too. But in order to get to to page 1 is going to require a ton of work, and we're talking about an accessory product that might get as high as $18, $19, but realistically, it's probably going to be more of the $14 to $16 range. And we initially decided to launch this product just as an accessory to also get other people to our other stuff. So with that being said, yes, we could. And I think naturally, I didn't even look on Prime Day. I mean, how many did we end up selling of that one? Was it like over 20?
Well, I know what it would have been on a normal day. I actually haven't looked, and I'll do that on the fly here.
Yeah.
Just to see if Fetcher has caught up yet, because I know we had an issue with Fetcher on Prime.
Chris, Charles wants to know if you can turn your volume up. You sound a little low today. You do sound a little bit lower than Dom.
What about now?
Yeah, that's better.
Now?
Yeah, that is.
A little bit louder now. When was Prime Day? Was Tuesday, right? Good Lord.
Yeah. But kind of going back to that again, it's like, Dom, you and I had talked about this privately. It's like, do you launch that accessory because there's a ton of depth and demand there for it, but yet you're not going to make as much money because that could be like a lead product that leads into your other products. Yeah, it could, but are you going to spend a ton of money on pay-per-click to make that fly? Probably not. So, I think at this stage of the game, like Chris said, it's like, and Dom, you've always said this, it's like not going deep as much as going wide. Like try to go wider so you can spread that net out amongst other keywords and other products, so that way there collectively across the account, you're going to sell 200 units a day. Not just one unit doing, like our good friend Bill doing, 200 units a day, but that one product, right? Or 2 products if you count the SKU. And Bill, if you're listening, which I know you probably are, we love you, brother. It's just you want to be able to spread that out, because I honestly, it's like you said, if we had a problem here, let's use this as an example. Let's say that the product, which was the product that's doing the best, let's say, for example, that's the only one we had right now, and we had all those problems with our listing, we would have been down for like 7 days with no sales.
At least.
But while that was happening, But while that was happening, we still had sales coming in on the other products. So it wasn't like we were dead in the water, right? We still had, you know, a little bit of, you know, diversification there. So anyway, well, what's your thoughts on that, Dom, really quickly about, you know, going wide versus deep?
Well, I mean, I guess it's not a full requirement because you have to start with 1 or 2 SKUs to begin with. But I mean, it's, again, for retail ARB, you know, we have thousands of SKUs, and some of the SKUs we have thousands of pieces. So, you know, it's longevity, it's history, it's you know, having, you know, some warehouse space and all that stuff. For private label, yeah, I think the same thing. If you can have more SKUs or more ASINs across you, and then maybe not have as much inventory on it, then you might, you know, it's going to help you for sure, because it can be more broad. You're going to have more selection and more choice in your account. But of course, then it's going to lead to having to, you know, more PPC and more time spent. So,
but I think what I'm saying is with retail ARB, like you're talking, like you might have 5 units of something, you might have 7 units of something else. So it's easier to get 200 SKUs, right? But we're talking with private labeling. We're saying like one product versus having maybe 3 or 5. Right. So it's like, that's kind of what we're talking about. So I think for people to understand, like, we're not saying you got to have 20, but if you have more than one, then you've got, you know, a better chance of riding, you know, the wave or, you know, riding out the storm if there's a problem. And
that comes back to the rant that I was going on earlier, which is your single point of failure, right? Like, obviously, when you start, you're always going to have a single point of failure. It's when you move past that, and I would say, what's the kind of the running joke, like, as soon as you can and not sooner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You kind of have to do it as soon as it makes sense. And to me, it's when you get that first product rooted, if you have the capital, go, right? If not, then build up that capital and then go. So, Scott, just going back to those numbers really quick. So our top selling product, which actually is our newest product in this brand, did 158 units. Out of the 270, which was 60% of our sales. The product that we're talking about did 16. The one that we've been struggling with did 16.
Okay.
Which is like a really good day for that product. We typically do 2 or 3 on that product.
Yeah.
And everything else kind of fell somewhere in the middle. You know, 30, 35, 36, whatever. So even if we wouldn't have gotten lucky and had that top seller in, Prime Day would have still been 3 or 4x for us. And the thing that's interesting is that product did 16. I know what the BSR was on that. The BSR for that on a normal day does about 5, right? So it sold 16 and got to where a product that normally would sell 5. So it looks like everyone in that category had a heck of a day. If you're in some of the categories that we're in, it looks like that was a good day for Prime Day, which makes sense given a lot of the promotion that Amazon was doing. So.
Cool. Okay, so let's switch gears for a second. And again, if anybody has any questions or anything that they want to discuss, put it in the comments below. Again, this is kind of like your hour as well. So we're here to answer any questions or, you know, again, just assist you guys in any way that we can. And if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, welcome and thank you for joining us. We do show up here every Friday at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to kind of switch gears a little bit because I think it's pretty exciting that today is officially the day that we are letting people into the 1K Fast Track. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I wrote an email this morning. Actually, I was having my coffee this morning and I was kind of like thinking to myself about success. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, what does success mean? Number one, that's number one. And to people, I mean, to a lot of people, it just means something different, right? I mean, success could be, oh, I've got a ton of money in the bank. Cool, I'm successful. Or, oh, I've got, you know, a shiny new car. I'm successful. Like, to me, successful, there are levels of being successful. And successful, to me personally, is lifestyle. And that's what we kind of talked about, Chris, yesterday, was like, well, lifestyle could mean like I'm sitting on the beach, shooting my feet up, you know, or dug in the sand, and I'm having a pina colada. Like, that could be part of your success. But to me, success is all about me dictating and kind of building my lifestyle, my life, around my business, okay, or my business around the other way around, my business around my lifestyle. So basically, for me to be able to say, every day at, whatever, 3 o'clock, I drive to school and I pick up my kids. Like, I've done that before I was even podcasting, or when I had my photography business. We built that around that. We drove our kids to school in the morning together as a couple, and then we picked our kids up, and people thought we were just out of left field, because they're like, how do you do this? Like, what do you do? And it was like, well, we own a photography business, and we basically don't book anything in those time slots because we want to be able to do that. Boom. So again, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, so what does this actually mean? So then we got into lifestyle, started thinking about that. But then a lot of people will then say, well, okay, that sounds great and all, Scott, but I just want to just free up the time. I want to just be financially free in a sense, which again, to a lot of people, it's just, what does that mean? So the reason why I'm kind of going back to all this stuff, guys, is because it comes down to understanding, number one, what are you trying to do right now? Like, are you trying to start a business just to say, I started a business and I'm successful? Or did you start a business because you have an end goal in mind? And for a lot of people, it's too overwhelming to even get to that point. And the 1K Fast Track, the beautiful thing about that, and we've done it twice already, is just getting started. Like, that's the biggest thing. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there now, guys. If you want to know more about the 1K Fast Track, go to 1kfasttrack.com. We are officially open. Doors are open. It is different, though, this time. We are not doing it as a live class. We've done it in the past with a live class, but don't let that fool you, because everything is there for you guys to succeed and go through and get started, okay? Because without getting started, you can't get a result, period. All right, and for anyone that's struggling or stuck and just thinking to themselves, what am I going to do to get started here? I don't want to buy 500 units. I don't want to invest $3,000 or $5,000 in inventory. Like, this is the answer, and it's been the answer for over 150 people that went through it in our beta. And I think, Chris, the last I checked, I mean, you had another number because you added on another.
We had some numbers that were shared privately.
Yeah, that were shared privately. That weren't public.
They just said don't put my name with it. And I think the total between the two classes, including everything that we know about, was over $60,000.
Yeah. So that was collectively, and that's generated, and that was within 2 groups. But what we're
just
doing
during the course too. That's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So basically, what we've done is we've kind of broken that up into 5 weeks. It's dripped out over time, so you can't go ahead. We don't want you to go ahead because it's dripped out on purpose. It's as you're going through it live with us every week. We will give you a new session, and that session will take you through exactly what you're supposed to do. Now, the cool thing is we have a Facebook group that's designated just for the 1K Fast Track, and Dom will be there. We'll be in there periodically, but Dom will be the guy, because Dom is the retail ARB ninja, as we've kind of coined him as, which he's got tons of experience and years of experience. And honestly, to be able to kind of get a sneak peek into his brain, really, about how this stuff works, and then also just some tips and tactics as far as like how to find product that isn't necessarily being sold in your Targets or your Walmarts or any of that stuff. I think that stuff is key, and to have those contacts is really, really huge. So if you guys are interested in that, head over to 1kfasttrack.com. You'll get all the information over there. It'll kind of outline everything. But I'm super excited about that. Dom, it's been a little while. You've been chomping at the bit to get another group through here. What's it feel like, man? We're officially open. Like, we're officially going to have some new students. How's that feel?
It's good. It's exciting. Yeah, it's been a few weeks, a few holidays here and there, and a few meetups in between here, a couple playoff games. It's exciting, of course. If we can help more people, that we want to take advantage of that. We want to get people into retail ARB if they have to, if they're getting stuck with private label, and then move them on to private label if that's what they want to do the journey with, or actually have both. A lot of people can do both once they've already started retail ARB. It's no reason to give it up, really, if you're already successful at it, or if you got some SKUs already. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we really haven't. It's been so hectic. We really haven't gone through much of it, the new launch and stuff. But hoping we'll get through there, and excited to see the new mainframe and website and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, because what we've done is we've really taken our training that we've done 2 times now, and we took the best of that, and then we organized it and really just brought it into an area where it can be digested easily in small chunks, so this way you can get through it, but they're actionable chunks. So this way here, it's like you go through the session with you, myself, and Chris, and then you're basically told to go out there and get started. And we actually did a pre-challenge in each one of those, and that's part of it, where you're going to do a pre-challenge. And in those pre-challenges, the first group did over $3,500. The second group did, I think it was just under $6,000, and that's in 7 days before the class even technically started. I'm excited about it. I know you are, Dom. And again, for anyone that is just stuck, or I get this question too, is Scott, what if I already am kind of private labeling? I've got one product, but I don't have enough to invest in that next product. Should this be something that I could, or that I should be doing? And the answer is you can, right? It's another revenue stream that you can start to bring in as, you know, more to your business and add more to the bottom line of your business. Now, is it going to require work? Yes, it is. Like, we're not going to sit here and tell you that retail ARB is going to be easy. It's not. Okay, but once you get through it, my daughter's a perfect example of this. My older daughter, she's 22. She's been doing it now for probably about 4 months, maybe-ish, something like that. And totally part-time, totally on the side, but she has gone from 0 to just over, I think she reported over $12,000 in revenue, which to some people is small, to some people is huge. And she's playing with their money now. Like, and she's got over 200 SKUs in there, and it's a part-time thing, but she does it so much faster now than when she first went through the material. Like, she knows the routine. She knows what to buy, what not to buy. She knows what categories she wants to buy in. And actually, this led her to a private label product that she's doing right now, and she's getting ready to source and to launch because it led her that way. And that's another thing I think we should point out is when you do this stuff, it allows you to actually get exposed to markets that you would have had to launch private label products into all of these markets to see exactly how it was going to pan out. And she got a few ideas by doing that, and now she's acting on one of them. And who knows where it's going to lead her? But like I've always said to her and all my kids, you know, you have to do something in order to see a result. And once you see that result,
you have to do what, Scott?
You have to take action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I think you were getting at something in the beginning there that is extremely important, and I don't want to gloss over. And it's something that we were talking about in that conversation yesterday, where we were talking about, like, what does the word lifestyle mean to people?
Yeah.
And, like, is it lifestyle, or is it building stuff around, like, building your business around your life? Because lifestyle a lot of times has the connotation of exactly what you said. Like, we're going to Mexico and we're going to work on our laptop on the beach. But lifestyle doesn't have to be that. It's whatever you consider to be your lifestyle, whether that's picking your kids up, whether that's just being able to stop working at 3 p.m. because you don't want to anymore. You know, whatever those things are, that's your lifestyle. But for a lot of people, the thing that they're really after, and we get this all the time, and I'm curious, if you guys are on with us, let us know your why. Like, why do you do the things that you do?
Yeah.
Let us know in that comments. In the comments down below. I'm always curious to hear this. But Scott, on our workshops, you asked the question, like, okay, if you had one product that was making 10 sales a day right now, what would that do for you, right? So that's that $100 in profit per day mark that we look for in private label products. And the answers that we get are all over the place. And some people, it is, you know, I want to go to the beach. But a lot of people, it is, you know, I want to be able to pay my mortgage. I want to be able to pay my car payment. I want to be able to pay my hospital bills. I want to be able to, you know, my husband is an over-the-road truck driver, and I'd love to be able to replace his income, right? But a lot of those things, you won't ever get started down that path if private label is the only thing that you're looking at, because there is more risk involved in private label to start with, right? You do have that down payment. You do have to do the market research correctly. You have more at risk than you do in retail ARB. If you do a bad buy on retail ARB, you lose $5. Right? Or $10.
Right.
If you do a bad buy on private label, you're stuck with hundreds of units of inventory. And so 1K fast track, if you guys are on the fence about getting started, or like, you know what your why is, you know that you want to make $100 a day, or you want to be able to pay your mortgage. And that was really the reason that we started 1K fast track. It's to get people to $1,000 a month, right? We wanted to be able to cover 500 people's mortgages this year with that course. And that is exactly what the course is designed to do. So even if your why is not at the place where you're saying, you know, I want to be able to pick up my kids every day, that might be down the road. But the first thing is, I want to be able to pay my mortgage. I want to be able to pay my car payment. I want to just be able to pay the cable bill, because it's $180 freaking a month for 6 channels and internet, right? Whatever those things are. Retail ARB can help you with that. Private label is definitely going to help you with that. But if your why is one of those smaller things right now, get started with 1K Fast Track and just take action and do something. And you'll be shocked at how fast you can pay that car payment. You can pay that mortgage, and then you can leverage that income that's coming in now into a private label product. So if you're on the fence at all, if you're Dan Foster and he said, paying for my retirement, any of those kinds of things, you can absolutely do that inside of 1K Fast Track.
Yeah.
It's worth at least taking a look at and seeing what you can do. And quite honestly, yes, there is a cost associated with it, but you can pay it off before it even actually starts. And we have a ton of people doing that just with the pre-challenge. And I'm going through my own little pre-challenge right now because I'm moving and I'm selling some of the stuff that's just kind of in the house right now. And I'm making a little bit that way as well. Like I have hundreds of DVDs sitting around. Why? I literally had this conversation that, I have like Netflix and Google Play and Amazon Prime and all of these things. Like, when is the last time I actually opened a DVD box and put it in the DVD player? Why do I still have them? Why am I going to put them in boxes and move them when I could sell them and make a little bit of cash? And yeah, it's not hundreds of dollars per DVD or even what I paid for it 10 years ago, but I'm not ever going to watch them in that format again. So why would I still have them? Somebody else wants them. I might as well get rid of them.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's great. That's great. Great point. And, again, just put it in the chat though, really quickly. I'm curious, what is it to you? Like, what does it mean to you to basically make an extra, I don't know, couple $100? You know what I mean? Like per month, like even if it's just a couple $100, $300, $500, whatever it is, like what would it do for you? What would it mean to you? What would it do for your life right now? I'm just curious. I want to see that in the comments, guys. So let me point it back to you, Dom. What do you think as far as like, why do you think that people don't get started? Like what is the sticking point for people that just, whether it's retail arb, whether it's private label, whether it's just selling on eBay, whatever, thrifting, whatever it is, what's the biggest sticking point?
Well, I think a lot of times it's the process. Either be the process is one or the stigma associated with it. Those are the two main things. We never really talk about the stigma. What I mean by that is when we first started, people thought I was sitting in a flea market, with a little table selling antiques or used clothing. And they're like, oh, you're at the flea market this weekend? And now they kind of, even if I'll see them 10 years later, oh, yeah, you're still doing the flea market? Yeah, that's correct. That's why I got, I got 2 houses and a bunch of cars, the flea market. I mean, it starts somewhere. Yeah, no, you're right. But there's a stigma associated with it because a lot of people, like you said, FBI, what's this FBI?
Yeah.
FBA and FBI. So there's one approach. And then 2, they just don't know how to get into it. It's just like anything. If you want to be a used car salesman or sell real estate or be your hairdresser, you're like, okay, well, I want to do that, but I don't know how to do it. Do I go to school? Could somebody teach me? So basically, I think those are the main 2, and we've kind of solved that, right? If people want to get into it, that follow us, we've got a very low entry point, very reasonable, course that we've put on that. There's a lot of content on it, and it's going to help you get through those stumbling blocks and kind of get it past your head. And once you kind of start, those things kind of drop out of your head. You're like, okay, I'm going good, and start making some income on it. And then if you're at the stage where you want to do private label, but you're stuck because of the product research, that's the biggest thing. Or, again, everyone talks about being saturated and stuff. Maybe you want to start. I think you have to start the process somewhere, and this enables you to do it just to understand the eBay, and then more importantly, the Amazon, culture, the Amazon system itself, whether you're printing out labels or how to use shipping or how to ship, that type of stuff. So this will help you around. And I've heard a lot of people that, maybe it's not even the product research for private label. Say they just don't know how to send the stuff into Amazon.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, how do you do that? And, so this course helps them through it, get through those smaller barriers. So then when they get the private label, they've already dealt with them.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point. It must be that $180 internet that Chris is buying that's not working well. Okay, so if you guys can still hear me and see me, can you let me know? That would be great. And I might have to jump on over and go back in. All right, are we back?
Yeah, we are back. I think all three of us are here.
Charles says Scott is back.
Hello.
Now it's just Chris.
Now it's just Chris.
No,
that was about 30 seconds before.
30 seconds.
I think our buddies over at Beat Live just had a hiccup.
Come on now, Be Live. What are you doing?
Come on, guys. Yes, all three. All right. That's what I like to hear. And, you know, Dan Forrester was letting us know in the comments, you know, he said, if I can do this as a technically challenged person and be on track to do $300,000 this year,
wow,
anybody can do this. And that is exactly the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And Dan said he is in for 1K Fast Track as well, which is really, really cool. Dom, Heather had a quick question for you. She knows you do retail ARB. She knows you're Canadian. Do you have a U.S. warehouse, or is everything you do in Canada?
No, we do have representation. Is that the word? And in both countries. So we do have a facility in the U.S. We have two larger ones here in Canada, and we have a smaller one in the U.S. But we, depends where the product is. 95% of it gets shipped from Canada, and we do have some stuff that we've kind of dealt with, Scott. You know, some affiliates that I work with that we really haven't talked about too much, but we might have on the show one day as a part of the podcast. The only way that I've really made my business successful as a retail ARB from selling through Canada to the U.S. So if you need that, we could definitely we can figure that out. I can send you the information either through Facebook or through either way.
Yeah, cool.
So that's it.
Yeah, so Chris, any other quick questions that we have? I forget what I was ranting on when I got booted off, but it was about the 1K Fast Track, but it was more about the momentum and getting that momentum and then being able to build off of that momentum. And I think that's a huge piece. And what I was saying is that like we do a 7-day challenge to help pay for the class. And like I said, the class is under $200. Depending on when you're listening to this, I'm actually right now, up until Sunday, it's actually under $150. And that's for 5-week training. It's got past Q&A that we've done with other students. You get to listen in on that. You get to see us go through product critiquing and just all of that stuff and downloads and checklists and all those resources. To me, it's honestly, it's probably closer to minimum of a $500, but probably more like a $1,000 class if you were to actually kind of base it out by what we're giving inside of that class. And even having Dom be in your corner for 5 weeks, I mean, $1,000 is probably undervaluing his time. Chris, do we have any quick questions before we wrap up here today? We got about 15 minutes.
We have a few, and we also had a really interesting point made by Colin. He said, you guys were talking about, like, I want to pay my car payment, I want to pay my mortgage. He said, I started to replace my car payment for a 2014 Mustang and started with a $50 investment. I'm currently doing $130,000 a month, and it all began with the TAS podcast, which is awesome. And that's kind of one of those things. And Scott, you and I were having this exact conversation yesterday. Like, his why was to pay for his Mustang, right? Which I think you can kind of get behind. It now has probably evolved. And Colin, if your why is still paying for that Mustang and you're doing $130,000 a month, you might need a different why. But I'm curious to see what your why is now, because you've paid for that car 5 times over. I don't know what's a Mustang around brand new, 30K,
at least.
Something like that. Okay, let's call it 40K. So you're paying for it 3 times every month. So I'm curious what his why is now. So Colin, if you can let us know in the comments, that would be awesome. Brett wants to know, he says, here's a question. Would you sell retail ARB under a PL seller account, or would it be better to keep them under separate accounts? For example, I find it strange seeing all these kitchen products PL, then you see a video game for sale under the same account. What do you think? So I have a couple thoughts on this, and I'm curious about Dom's thoughts on this as well. First of all, keep them separate if you want them separate. If you want to have them separate for business reasons, you want to keep that money separate, then obviously you would set that up under a separate account. It's a different business. Amazon's going to have no issue with that. Other than that, I wouldn't worry about it. 99.9% of buyers think that everything they buy from Amazon is sold by Amazon. They don't know that they can click on the seller name and see the stuff that you're selling, right? So I wouldn't worry too much about it. And if there's one guy that, you know, out of 100 that does understand that and he's thrown off by a DVD, then that's too bad for him, right? Like, to me, I wouldn't worry about it from that perspective. The only reason you would want to have separate accounts is if you want to. That's just my opinion. I'm curious what Dom's opinion is on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we have it a little bit different because we want to obviously be Canadian sell. We have accounts in Canada, accounts in the U.S. We have it for accounting purposes, LLC, corp, and corporation purposes, software purposes, so we know what we're selling through. We keep all our accounts separate. So all our private label accounts are private label. All our retail ARPs are retail ARP. We don't want to mix it. Again, sometimes I have different partners. We have different business models. You know, I want to know what I'm doing for private label. I don't want to know how many Mario video games I sold. You know, especially with Amazon, they're not the best to keep track of everything. But when you use something like Fetcher, it'll break it down. So I don't want it all mixed up. Aesthetically pleasing for me, I like to see it nice and fresh. So when I look at, especially like funny things like your app on your phone, I don't want to see everything mixed up, that I sold toilet paper and I sold 3 private label and 2 video games. I just want to see what I've sold for private label that day, what I've sold for my other account, what we've done at retail ARP, compare the two type of stuff. So we don't mix any stuff. But again, that's a lot of hassles. You have to have different accounts, different bank accounts, different credit cards. You know, but again, it all depends where you are in your journey, right, guys? Like, you know, you really don't have to. I know a lot of guys, they mix their stuff together. And, you know, we even got guys that that have come to the TAS meetups and, you know, to the classrooms and to they have mixed stuff. They have retail ARPs, they have DVDs mixed in and books mixed in with their private label stuff, and they're doing big numbers. So
yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, well, again, I think it depends. Like, I mean, if you're just starting out, like, I don't think it's a big deal to kind of have things in and out of that same account. But if you're going to build a brand, you might want to filter out the RA stuff. But again, if you kind of look and see how it's kind of structured, when you look at items on Amazon, it'll say sold by, and then it'll say more or less the brand, right? So if I click on the sold by, right, then it might be everything that brand, that umbrella brand that we call it, or the open brand, that would be like everything that open brand sells, right? But if they click on the brand that you created, that could be all your kitchen supply stuff, and all they're going to see is stuff that's labeled that brand.
Exactly.
So this way here, it almost looks like all your stuff is one brand by that one, you know, particular company, but the entire brand on the account would have everything. It's kind of like your general store, right? You go to a general store, they have everything. But if you go to that brand's website, all it's going to be talking about is that website. It's very similar to that. But I get what Dom's saying 100%. I think, though, in the beginning, rather than thinking you have to do that, just get started however that's possible, and then you can filter one of them out, or you can start a new one and then just focus on that main brand or whatever you want to do with that at the time. But I wouldn't let that be an obstacle right now. You know, I just wouldn't let that be an obstacle.
Gerald says, "What's up from my phone on the road in upstate New York? You better be listening and not watching."
Upstate, though. I want to know what part of upstate.
Gerald, let us know what part of upstate you're in. Pull over and let us know.
Yes, please pull over, or whoever you're with, and maybe have them text or whatever.
Colin says his new why is financial freedom, not to worry about when they're going to fire me. If you're worried about when they're going to fire you, that's definitely a motivator. Not if they're going to fire you, but when they're going to fire you is definitely a motivator. Out of my desk job. I mean, in the process of quitting that job, hopefully this month, Colin, rock on. Glad you started with that small why and built to something that now you can do that.
Wolf Road. I know Wolf Road. That's where all the stuff is down there in almost near Albany. So Wolf Road, I know Wolf Road very well. Been down that road many times. There's a Red Lobster. Used to be a Red Lobster on Wolf Road. I used to go there. Across from Trader Joe's. That's so funny. All right, cool. So thank you. Yeah, I know exactly where you are. So you're basically in Albany. You're in the Albany area. Cool.
The other question that I had here, and I think it was from Everin, and I can't find it now, but he was basically saying, Chris, I heard you say that you're selling some DVDs. How are you doing that? I looked into 5 Mile. I looked into some of those. I ended up just biting the bullet and using one of the trade-in services. I know I made less than what I would have if I used the strategies in 1K Fast Track, but I didn't really have the time to wait because we're moving like this weekend. So just kind of hit the gas and traded that in. And yeah, I mean, I think I traded in or sold, 50 to 100 DVDs, and I ended up making a little over $1 each. With $1 or $2 each, which for something that was just going to take up space, right? I'm happy clearing it out. If I would have listed them on eBay or gone through the process to get them on Amazon, I may have made substantially more money than that, and I probably would. And I'm sure Dom is having a heart attack hearing that I made $1 a unit. But yeah. If it's something that I'm not going to use anyway, I might as well offload it, right? So that's kind of how.
Tell me the website. Tell me the website. Maybe it'll take 5,000 at a time.
I'll see if I can find it. But you would have to create individual tickets. They'll only take one of each title per ticket.
Oh.
So if you have 5,000 of one SKU, you'd have to make 5,000 individual transactions, which is probably fine. Nice. But yeah, everyone said exactly. It's better than taking up space in my garage. Like if I'm just gonna have to I'm gonna have to put them back in a box to not use them again. Why am I doing that? That makes no sense. I'll pay for my boxes by selling. It just makes everything a little bit easier. So I think that was it. Gerald says he's in Little South Rochester.
Oh, okay. I know Rochester too, but that wasn't as close as Wolf Road. Wolf Road, you can literally jump on 87. She's gonna, I think it's a she. I think that was commenting. Was it Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle.
Okay. Yeah. If she jumped on 87 and just went north, you'd be able to get to my house, my old house, or my old area. I graduated from Ballston Spa, so basically on that exit, you'd get off at like exit 12, and she'll know exactly where I'm talking about. But anyway, it's just funny. I did want to wrap up with something though that I thought was pretty cool. I had an interview yesterday with our friend Tony from the Sellers Summit, and I caught up with her because we were at Sellers Summit and she hadn't launched yet. Her inventory was being shipped to her house, and she was going to be launching. So I had her on the show. Great interview. But what I really wanted to highlight here is, because I always like digging into people's stories, even like Dom, like going back to like, how did he even get interested in this? Like, how did it all lead to where he is? We kind of did that on the podcast and walked through his story. Chris, the same thing with you, my story. Everybody has a story on what led you to where you are. And she had a really interesting business model. And I think it's worth noting because people can do this model too. Like we talk about like creating a business, like this is another business model you could do like right now if you wanted to, and it pretty much wouldn't cost you hardly anything. It's just gonna take some work. She opened a consignment shop, okay? And in that it's not just a consignment shop that you just take anything, right? You'll take anything on a consignment shop. What she did, which I thought was pretty cool, is she only took in designer stuff, like designer hand purses, coats, jeans, whatever, blouses, I don't know, other designer stuff, shoes probably. And it couldn't be more than 2 years old. It had to be in certain condition. And she's been doing that now successfully. She has now regular clientele that come in to see that once a week. And then she also has people that bring stuff to her maybe once a month, maybe every 2 weeks, because now they know that they can offload some of the stuff and get money back. And she basically splits it with those people 50%. So I thought it was interesting, Chris, that she went she took a business model that you could do, that you could be general, but she niched it down. And now she specializes in more name brand stuff that you can walk into that store and buy at probably half price. And she just basically, to get started, she reached out to her friends, her family, her coworkers and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. If you have anything, let me know and you can make 50% of whatever I sell. And she said she filled her store that way. And that's how she started. And she's still doing it to this day. But she wanted to do private labeling because she wanted to diversify. She wanted to, she being an entrepreneur, she wanted to go out there and kind of, do the semi, passive income, if you want to call it that, but a little bit more of an automated type of thing. But I just thought it was interesting. Like people sit there and they say, I don't have the skills, or I don't have the capital, or I don't have this. It's like, stop making excuses and figure out a way to do it in your current situation. Like, instead of making excuses, just figure out how you can do it. For us, 1K Fast Track, that's the answer. If you're sitting there struggling, because you can literally get started like today, like right now. You can probably in the next 7 days make, you know, a couple $100, $500, $1,000, within just the first 7 days. So Chris, I just wanted to kind of share that. I thought Tony's story was really.
She is actually listening, and she said she has over 4,000 consigners now, which I think is really cool.
That is awesome.
And Scott, her story was interesting to me. Jimmy the Shark and I actually ended up having brunch with her the final day of the event while we were waiting for you to wrap up with some of the mastermind stuff. And what you just said is something that you and I have talked about in the past. Dom has talked about it in the past. I know we mentioned it in the podcast. I think it was Monday, the roundtable episode, or Wednesday this week?
I think it was Monday, but
and if you guys didn't get the email for today, just go to theamazingseller.com. It'll be 3 episodes ago at this point, I believe. And it's kind of our recap from the event, but it's resources versus resourcefulness.
Yeah.
Right? You don't always have to have the resources. She didn't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy all kinds of brand name clothing and handbags and all of those kinds of things. She was resourceful, and she went to her friends and family and said, if you guys have this, we're going to do this as consignment, right? And that's how she got her start. You can do the same thing with 1K Fast Track, with Private Label Classroom, with any of those kinds of things. You have either a skill, ability, or time, money, any of those kinds of things that you can use to advance this forward. You don't have to have all of those things. You just have to take the thing that you have and figure out how to get the other ones. Does that make sense? Like, if you don't have the money, do you have the time? If you don't have the time or money, well, what do you need to do to get one of those two? Right? And then you can start to build that business. So it's not a matter of having all of the resources. It's a matter of being resourceful to get the resources.
Yeah, no, I mean, we all have time, right? I mean, yes, some have more than others. It's funny, I was just talking to my son at lunch, and he's talking about a friend of his. He's 22 years old. He comes from, a little bit of a rough background, tough home life and all that stuff. And, my son's like, he really wants him to get out of that environment. And I'm like, well, he can. All he has to do is get a job, and if that job doesn't pay for his living, then he has to get a second job. Like, you can do it. Anybody can do what we're doing or get out of a certain situation. It's your control. But sometimes people get comfortable, or they feel as though they don't have that confidence, or they're going to fail or whatever. And I get it, but you have to understand that there is a way. You just have to go out there and figure it out. And when people say, I don't have the money, then I say, do you have time? Well, I don't really have time either. Tell me what you're doing on a daily basis. I bet you I can find 2 hours that you can probably devote to something else.
There was a really interesting article this week, Scott, and I thought of you, that was going around, and I've seen some similar things in the past. I think it was on Forbes, and it was basically like, are you better off working at McDonald's than working in your business? And that headline is like, well, why would I want to work at McDonald's? And he was talking about, in his consulting, he runs into people all the time, or like at networking meetups, he runs into people all the time that are like, I can't afford ClickFunnels, or I can't afford lead pages. So I'm using this free thing, and I spent 20 hours building this landing page, and it still doesn't work. Okay, but if you would have worked at McDonald's for 20 hours, right, at minimum wage, you could have paid for that tool for the entire year. Right. And so it was one of those things where he's like, where is that 20 hours better spent? Right. If you don't have the resources, you need to be resourceful. In that case, it actually means getting that second job to pay for those things. Right. Or doing retail ARB to pay for the private label stuff, whatever that is. If you can figure out what that thing is that you need, you can figure out how to get it.
100%, I agree, and I think we should end on that note today. Dom, what do you want to say about that? What do you think when someone comes to you and go, Dom, I'm just, I don't know, I really want to do this online thing, and I don't know. I mean, I've tried and it just doesn't work. What do you say to that person?
Good luck.
in meaning what?
No. I mean, I would get it all the time, even just from close friends and stuff like that. But a lot of all my close family, obviously, and friends and business partners, or even clients and stuff. I mean, they understand the lifestyle that I have, and they're like, guys, that's pretty cool, that you built all this stuff. So again, I tell them, what do you want to achieve? It all depends. do you want to be passive income? Do you want to work for somebody else? Do you want to have a business? But having a business doesn't mean you're just going to make $100,000 a month clear and you're going to be sitting in an ocean. I mean, some people are like that, but that doesn't happen. I mean, I work basically even 7 days a week. But when I need to take days off, or when I need to go away, when I want to buy something, I just do it. Like, I don't have to save up for it, or we'll do this in 2 years. We'll go to Hawaii, or we'll get a car. So that's good.
Oh. And you were saying, Dom?
Did
he freeze up? There he is.
Thanks.
There he is.
Well, you guys froze up on me too. So, yeah, I mean, most people don't. Again, I always get most people don't understand the business model. Do you know what I mean, guys? Like, they just don't. They just think we're taking used stuff and we're reselling it. But once they get into it, they get it. People that I coach or teach, they catch on pretty fast. And I think once you're into it, it's always been for me. It's a thrill of the hunt. It's to try to find product to resell for retailer. But even with success, when you get a good product for private label, it's like it's a pretty amazing feeling. And again, especially for private label, that's the one thing I always say. It's only business I find that you can scale to a good level, a comfortable living level within a year if you've done it properly and you follow the guidelines. Or with everything else, you can't do it. So again, I'm sure there's other stuff that we'll talk about or we get into when people talk to me or ask me. But that's basically the general. Do you have time to put into it? Do you want to sacrifice something? I'm not saying you have to sacrifice your whole family life, but I've done lots of times. I can't. I'm not saying it's for everybody. But sometimes I just can't go to my daughter's dance class on Friday because I have to meet with a client. Mm-hmm. But if she wants to go to Mexico for 10 days like we did, or come and visit, go to South Carolina for a week, back to back, you have to work sometime to make that money, right? To make it a reality. So it's give and take, I guess. And, I'm still, even guys, I'm still at the point where, I work for my business. It doesn't work for me. It's just because, I'm transitioning mostly to private label and to coaching, teaching, and doing stuff with you guys with TAS and 1K. And I'll get there. It's an evolution even for myself, even though I've been doing it for over 20 years, because I built 20 years of clients and backgrounds and warehouse and inventory. You just can't stop right and just do it. Do what you want. You got to kind of transition, like you say, pivot, like we like to say it. So. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think who knows where any of us are going to be. A year from now, 2 years from now. I never would have thought, number one, I'd have a podcast. Number two, I never thought that I would be reaching thousands of people. I never thought that I would have been started this last brand that we just started. Like, it just was not in the equation. But that's why I'm excited for what's to come. And I think if you stay excited about the journey, I say this, every single week almost now, it seems like, and enjoy the process. I just think then, you just have to be willing to pivot when it's time to pivot. And that pivot doesn't mean you're pivoting totally out of a business. It just means that you might be pivoting in another direction. Dom went from retail ARB, hard, heavy all the time, built a whole business around that, became the guy in his area that you would go to for product to fill people's stores, like that size, to now where he's like, I want to do more private label. And now for the past 3 years, he's been doing that and very successful at it. And that was a pivot, but it wasn't like totally a pivot away from what he was doing. So anyway, just wanted to kind of throw that out there. One last thing, we got one from Charles.
He says, I'm launching 3 products and placing orders for Q4 so I don't run out of stock again this year. Taking action. Thanks, guys, for all the support. Charles,
sweet.
Rocking it, man. I can't wait to see you the next time we're in the same place. You are always a ball of energy.
Yeah, he is.
And I think that's the thing, Scott. You said kind of like embrace the journey, right? But that doesn't mean that every day is like the happiest, best day.
Yeah. Oh, today was great.
There are going to be crap days, right? Like it happens. There's going to be days where literally nothing goes your way. That was last week for us.
Yes.
Like anything that can happen on an Amazon account happened within a 10-day period, basically. Yep. Short of the account getting suspended, right? We ran out of product. They deleted our listing. They
duplicated it 3 times.
Violation that didn't exist.
Right.
They did, like anything that could possibly happen happened.
Pay-per-click won't go on the one product. And
you have a stressful day or you have a stressful 2 days, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad, right? Like your leg isn't on fire. Right. It's going to be there. You can let it sit. You can come back to it tomorrow. and everything is going to be okay. And I think having that kind of a mindset helps you weather the storm when that stuff happens. Because if you get yourself into that spiral of like, oh, well, this happened and this happened, it just means this whole thing is bunk, right? Yep. Well, bad stuff is going to happen. It doesn't matter what business you're in. But when you can weather that storm, you can see all of the benefits on the other side of it, like being able to work the schedule that you want to work, right? Like being able to go, drive your daughter to school on the golf cart every day, if that's what you do, because you're not locked into, I have to be here at 9, I have to be gone at 5 or 5:30 or whatever. I'm going to be in a meeting later. We move our meetings around all the time because stuff is happening.
Yep.
We moved our meeting yesterday. We had a team, like an all hands on deck team meeting, and we said, can we do it 20 minutes earlier? Yeah, no problem, because we have that flexibility. And that's really why this business appeals to so many people. So keep moving forward, guys. I'm looking forward to what you guys are doing.
Yep.
Scott, do you have anything else that you want to close out with today?
No, I just think that I think it's been a great week, exciting, a lot of twists and turns and all that stuff. And officially, I mean, with all the work that we did put into the 1K Fast Track and getting those 2 classes through it, and then now we've gotten everything organized in a members portal, a Facebook group, everything, just a lot of stuff that we had to do to make it what it is right now. And now having people being able to actually go through it is pretty exciting. So just remind you guys again, 1kfasttrack.com. Check it out if you're interested. If you are stuck or if you want to add another revenue stream and you have that time to put into it, I definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, Don, what do we got going on over there? We got some squeaking? Is that you or?
It's my wife coming in with our dog. Who's got
into the squeaky toys again.
We had to end with a little squeakiness. All right. So, guys, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Let's end on a smile today, and let's just go out there and have a great weekend. And one little piece I'll give you guys is, if you are still, and I know it sounds kind of corny, but I'm going to say it anyway. Sit down and just figure out that why, and then from there figure out the target. Like, figure out where the actual direction for you is, and then we can map that out. All right. And Jason Bear says, take action. Love Jason. He was the guy in the back of the room at the Sellers Summit that said, Scott, come on, say it with me, say it loud. And he actually got me to do the whole thing. So anyway, guys, have an awesome, amazing weekend. And we'll see you guys soon. If you guys are in the 1K Fast Track or thinking about joining, we'll see you guys inside of there. And good luck to you guys. And we'll see you next week. All right. So take care. And as always, take action. We'll see you.